بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد المرسلين أما بعد وقال الله سبحانه وتعالى في القرآن المجيد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد وقال الله سبحانه وتعالى إن الله يجزي المتصدقين صدق الله العظيم وقال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم ما نقصت صدقة من مال رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي رب يسر ولا تعسر وتمم بالخير وبك نستعين يا فتاح. Dear respected brothers and listeners, As-Salamu alaykum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. All praises to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Master of the Day of Judgment, the all-knowing, the all-hearing, the most forgiving, the most merciful. And we send peace and blessings upon the beloved of Allah, the best of mankind, the best of creation, the Rasul of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And I pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes it easy for me to deliver and act upon my message, and that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes it easy for you to understand and act upon my message. The Prophet of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam says, "Ma naqasat sadaqatun min mal." The one who gives charity, the one who gives sadaqah for the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he or she will never see their wealth decrease. The one who gives sadaqah for the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he or she will never see their wealth decrease. The Prophet of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam says that the one who gives sadaqah in this dunya, that sadaqah will intercede on their behalf on the day of Qiyamah. Sadaqah takes away the anger of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The Prophet of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam says that the sadaqah you give in this dunya wipes out sins, extinguishes sins just like water wipes out fire. And there are many more ahadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, verses of the Quran in which Allah and His Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam display the virtues and the benefits of giving sadaqah for the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The word sadaqah, my brothers, is derived and comes from the word sidq. So the one who intends to give sadaqah must do so with complete honesty and sincerity, and only and solely for the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam says that the one who gives sadaqah in this manner, only and solely for the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah, He accepts that sadaqah. Allah accepts your sadaqah. He takes it with His right hand. And then, my brothers in Islam, it reaches Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala before it even reaches the person it was intended for. You know, in this dunya, my brothers in Islam, when you give sadaqah lillah, you put it in a bucket and you forget about it. You leave it to Allah, right? When you give sadaqah to a person, clothing, food, whatever you give as charity, you give it and you forget about it. But Allah doesn't forget, my brothers in Islam. When you give sadaqah only and solely for the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He takes it with His right hand. He accepts it. And then, my brothers, He nourishes it. He makes it grow just like you make an animal grow. You nourish it and make it grow and grow and grow. And Allah will take your sadaqah and He will nourish it. He will make it grow and grow. And you will see your sadaqah in the form of mountains and mountains of good deeds on the day of Qiyamah. And you will reap the rewards in the hereafter. The Prophet of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, my brothers, in the hadith, he was mentioning the day of Qiyamah, the horrors of the day of Qiyamah, a horrific day, where people will be screaming, shouting, running like headless chicken. And he comes to the part where the sun will be a mile away from the heads of the people. And people will be drowning in their own sweat, my brothers in Islam. But the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said that there will be a group of people on that day that will be under the shade. And they were those people who gave sadaqah only and solely for the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us all this shade. This is the power of sadaqah, my brothers in Islam. The Prophet of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam says, Da'u mardakum bis sadaqah. Da'u mardakum bis yourself. Cure yourself from illnesses through what, my brothers? By taking medication? By taking medicine? No, by sadaqah. Look at the power of this hadith. Understand this hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, my brothers. The Prophet of Allah is saying, Da'u mardakum bis sadaqah. Heal yourself, cure yourself from illnesses through what? Through sadaqah. Take your paracetamol, take your ibuprofen, take your cough medicine, take your antibiotics, my brothers in Islam. But heal yourself, cure yourself from sadaqah, through sadaqah. And if you understand this hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is saying that the charity that you give in this dunya, the food that you put in the mouth of an orphan, the clothing that you put upon a person, the money you put into the bucket has a more likely effect in curing you from your illnesses and difficulties than the medicine that you are taking. So you make dua to, the first thing that you should do, my brothers, when we are ill, the first thing that we do, we go in the cupboard and take the paracetamol. We take the ibuprofen. But look at the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Take your difficulties away. Take your illnesses away through sadaqah. Take your medication, my brothers. The first thing that you do when you are ill, you're going through any kind of difficulty, you have an interview, exam, whatever it may be, my brothers in Islam, the first thing that you do is make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Put sadaqah, anything, my brothers in Islam, and then take your medication. Then take your medication and leave it to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In the nation that came before us, my brothers, Abu Hurairah radiallahu ta'ala, he narrates that there was a man, a pious man, a rabbi, an imam, who lived amongst the people. And he was quite famous, everyone knew him, how he looked, where he lived. And my brothers in Islam, I'm sure we've all gone through this. You have a night where you are tossed in a bath, you can't sleep, something is worrying you, or something may not be worrying you, but you just can't sleep. So this imam, one day he can't sleep, and with all the skills that he has, he couldn't go to sleep. So a thought came to his mind that today what I'm going to do is I'm going to go out in the middle of the night and I'm going to give sadaqah to the first person I meet. So he dresses himself in a different way, he looks different, he goes to a different part of the city where no one knows him. And the first person he meets, he gives this charity to, and he comes back home. The next morning, my brothers in Islam, he goes out into the city and people are laughing and joking amongst themselves. And he asks them, what's happened? And they said that a man in the middle of the night, he went out and gave charity to a thief, to a robber. And who gives charity to a thief, my brothers? So he says to himself, Allah's not going to accept this from me. And I've given charity to a thief. I need to go out again and give charity. So the next night, once again, he prepares himself, he looks differently, and he goes to a different part of the city. And the first person he meets, he gives that charity to. And he comes back home. The next morning, my brothers in Islam, he goes out into the city and people are laughing and joking even more. And he says, what's happened? What happened? Why are you laughing and joking? And they say that a man in the middle of the night went out and gave charity to a night worker. So this man, he said, Allah's not going to accept this from me. I need to do it again. He was determined, my brothers, to seek the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So he says to him, Allah's not going to accept this from me. I need to go out again once more. Once more, I need to go out again and give charity for the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the next morning comes, my brothers in Islam, and he prepares himself once again. He goes out to a different part of the city and he goes out and gives charity to the first person he meets, and he comes back home. And the next morning when he goes out into the city, my brothers in Islam, the people are, they're laughing and joking even. They're in stitches, my brothers in Islam. And he thinks to himself, what have I done now? And they say that a man in the middle of the night went out and gave charity to the richest man in the city, the emperor of the city. He doesn't even need any money. So this man is thinking, Allah's not going to accept this from me. And the Sahaba were laughing and, amongst themselves and smiling. And the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that the first night when he went out and gave charity to the thief, that night when this thief received that money, he said to himself that today I don't need to rob anyone. I don't need to hurt anyone. I received the money I needed. The second night, when he gave money to the night worker, she said to herself, I don't need to dishonor myself tonight. I can go home to my family. I've got what I need. And the third night, my brothers in Islam, when the emperor received the money, a thought came to his mind. That people below me who have nothing are giving charity to people. Today I'm going to do the same thing. From today, I'm going to do the same thing. You know, sometimes my brothers in Islam, we think, you know, when we go out to different countries or, you know, in Leicester, we see people who are poor, you know, begging for money. And we think to ourselves, do they deserve the money or not? Are they lying or not? But my brothers in Islam, you know, everything has a chain of reaction. And the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that never look down on any good that you do. Never look down at any good that you do. There will always be something that will come, and something good will always come out of it. They may not deserve it, my brothers in Islam, but something good is the intention that counts. Something good will always come out of it. So whatever you, brothers, if I can ask you to stand up, inshallah, and move forward. If I can ask you to stand up and move forward, inshallah. You can fill up those spaces in front of you, all the way to the front, inshallah. If there's any spaces in the rooms, please fill them up as well, inshallah. And a true story, my brothers in Islam, a man from Egypt, he has some chest pains, so he went to his local doctor, and the local doctor examined him. And he said that the veins leading to your heart are closing up. There's no blood leading to your veins. You need to have an operation. You need to go to Europe to have an operation. So this man, he went to Germany, he got examined, and the doctor said, you need to have an emergency operation right away. And it's dangerous. It's a 50-50 chance. So he said to the doctor, give me 2 days, let me go home, speak to my family, look after everything, ask for forgiveness, and I'll come back. So this man, my brothers in Islam, on his journey, on his way home, he sees, you know, when you go to the butcher, man, we've all gone to the butcher. Yeah, we've all been to the butcher to get our meat. And you say to the butcher, can you, 1 chicken, 2 chicken, 3 chicken, and he cuts them in pieces, and the fat and the bone that come out of it, they put it in the bin, right? So this woman, she was collecting the fat and the bone that we don't eat outside the butcher for herself. So this man, on his journey, he saw this lady, and he said to her, what are you doing? This is all waste, it's all rubbish. And she said, but me and my daughter haven't had meat for 2 years. I'm collecting this for my daughter.